In Wednesday's business report, we are looking at the African Passport, a flagship project of the continent Agenda 2063. Could we possibly see the United States of Africa? And with more on the economic impact the free movement could have on the continent, Africa 54 business correspondent Jill Malandrino joins us via remote from our New York studios. Jill, how are you today? And tell us the latest.
Hi, doing well today, Esther. Thank you. The first passport was issued in July to the African Union president, which is interesting considering the amount of attention Brexit and the future of a unified European Union has been getting. Africa's Agenda 2063 has several major components, but the most common themes in the framework are trade, prosperity on a global scale, and political unity. People who hold a United States passport or a passport from many European countries can travel around Africa with more ease than Africans themselves. The need for visas has a heavy impact on frequent intra-African travelers, such as business people and entrepreneurs. Having to make countless visits to embassies, submit paperwork, and wait for approval can waste days and in many cases help lose sensitive deals.
You know, it looks like a very interesting phenomena here where most Africans would like to have this free passport, but I would imagine there would be some hesitation and also obstacles in implementing a universal passport. What's your take?
Sure. Yeah. The publication African Business did some interesting analysis on this. The concept of one African passport may be highly appealing in theory, but the challenge of getting 54 unique African states to agree on the implementation of this plan is tremendous. Just like with Brexit, the biggest issue with the universal passport will be the human factor. The notion of seamless borders raises the all-important concern of terrorism, so the introduction of a common African passport will undoubtedly be a drawn-out and complex journey with migration and refugee policies needing to be reassessed before any implementation can happen.
You mentioned seamless borders, but you know, when you look at that kind of focus and the effort being made by certain countries in East and Western Africa, you know, is there any evidence really to support this is really working?
There are many studies from groups like the IMF, World Bank, and Trademark East Africa that show countries like Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda are benefiting from progressive reform. Building business competitiveness, particularly for export markets, and exports are key. They must involve governments and trade support institutions working with private sector and supporting competitiveness with a coherent strategy. African countries have historically led in isolationist and protectionist policy, and this is one of the main reasons why many countries still have a weak economy. A more liberal and open economic policy will generate greater growth for African countries, and expanding exports, and this is for any country globally, within the 54 states and abroad is the key here.
So, Jill, what do you see as maybe the main challenge ahead in really getting this underway, to be able to have free movement of people and to be able to do trade with each other within the continent?
Right. The biggest obstacle is going to be that you do have 54 different states that have to come together socially and politically. But I think if they can do that, and again, the term is over the next few decades, and this is going to be the biggest story that we're going to be following in business. If you can get the political and social variables out of the way, you can certainly open up trade across the borders. And that's why we always talk about countries like Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, when we're looking at positive trends that are happening on an economic scale. So if we can get past the human factor here, and you can open up and cross borders, that is what's going to grow the export market. You'll have to import less, and that is how you expand an economy.
I imagine this is quite an ambitious effort. It's something that a lot of Africans are looking forward to, but as you say, there are some challenges ahead. Well, thank you so much, Jill. Jill Malandrino is Africa 54 business correspondent reporting live from New York.